In this lesson, we will learn how to unravel stitches and put them back onto your knitting needles. Let's say you're knitting along and you find a mistake and you need to unravel multiple rows. This is what you do. Make sure to lay your garment flat on nice clean surface and carefully pull your knitting needle out. Then start unraveling stitch by stitch. You can definitely go faster if you feel comfortable, but if you've never done it before, we definitely recommend that you go slow. In this example, we're going to unravel 2 rows. Just be careful with that last stitch. So 2 ways we can do it. You can put everything right onto the knitting needle. It doesn't really matter if you go from left to right or right to left. So carefully pick up every stitch and put it right onto the needle. It's important that your stitches are going back on the needle in the right direction. Make sure to go slow, especially if you've never done this before. So see, this would be the wrong direction. And here, this is the correct way. Otherwise, your stitches will get twisted. So it kind of makes this L shape. And as you're putting the stitches back onto the needle, just carefully keep moving them along onto the cable, or if you're using straight needles, keep them moving along the needle. Let's say maybe you accidentally lost one stitch. So you have to put it back depending on what you have knitted. So here, if you have stockinette knitted, you will know right away that this is kind of, this is not right. So you have that extra bar. We're going to correct it. So carefully by hand, pull it out. So this is the wrong way for stockinette. It would be fine if you were doing garter stitch. So for stockinette, pull it through the back like so. Now everything looks nice and even, so we can put it back onto the needle. Let's say if it happened again, very carefully, very slowly, correct it and put it onto the needle. And make sure to check your direction. And carefully just keep pushing the stitches down the needle. And we keep repeating this until we're done with all the stitches in the row. Be careful not to miss any of the stitches. So here you see that the last 3 stitches are knitted in garter stitch. So they will look a little bit different than the stockinette. It really all depends on what pattern you're knitting. When you're done, it's very important that you count the number of stitches. If you have too many, it means you accidentally grew a stitch, and if you don't have enough, you dropped one. If you're too nervous about dropping stitches, there's another way to pick up the stitches. You can use a tapestry needle for that. So here we have a large plastic tapestry needle. Use a piece of waste yarn make sure the width is at least as wide as your project. So we're not gonna use knitting needle to pick up the stitches. We'll transfer them onto the knitting needle later. First, we're going just to thread this needle and piece of yarn, and we'll transfer the stitches onto this piece of yarn. This way they're gonna stay secure. So again, it doesn't really matter if you're going from left to right or from right to left. That makes no difference. What makes a difference is that all your stitches are facing in the right direction. And then carefully just keep pulling it. You see how the tapestry needle is much thinner than your knitting needle. So okay, so here, what's happening here, this would be the wrong direction. So this is not right. Make sure you put it in the right direction and just keep going. So the tapestry needle is much thinner than the knitting needle, so it makes it easier to pick up your stitches. This way you have a lot less chance of dropping them. With chunky yarn, it's probably fine either way, but if you're trying to pick up stitches and you're using a thinner yarn, or if your yarn is really slippery, maybe you're knitting with silk or cotton, then a lot more chances of having stitches drop accidentally. So this is a really great way um, to do it. I mean, this is an extra step, so it will take more time, but I feel that it's worth it because you're saving time in the long run because you're not going to have any dropped stitches. Always just keep an eye on the direction of your stitches. Make sure everything looks nice and neat and all the stitches are facing in the right direction. See, now everything is completely secure. All your stitches are on a piece of yarn. It helps to count it just in case. Once you're satisfied that you have the number of stitches matches what you're supposed to have, now we are ready to transfer from a piece of yarn to the knitting needle. Again, you can go from left to right or from right to left. It really makes no difference, whichever way you prefer. So see, here the stitches are secure. They can't go anywhere. So you can be just a lot more relaxed about it. And just keep transferring. And the piece of yarn can stay there. I like to just pull it out at the end. So, and you just keep going until you're done with all of the stitches in the row. Just a few more stitches to go. Don't be in a rush. Go slow. And when you're done, now we're ready to pull that piece of waste yarn out. So this is so easy and your stitches are safe and back on the knitting needles and you can continue with your project. And I hope you enjoyed this video. We have a lot more. Please subscribe to Loopy Mango channel.